session is FTC Fundamentals, presented by coaches Don Bell and Larry Garcia and Dimmitt Robotics. It's our pleasure to welcome them. Don Bell teaches multiple robotics classes throughout the school district of Dimmitt ISD. He is a high school and middle school teacher who focuses on robotics full-time and ACE robotics at the elementary campus. He has over 20 years of experience in education, drafting, and robotics, mostly in Dimmitt ISD. He works with kids of all ages in the STEM fields and teaches robotics from kindergarten to high school seniors. Due to Mr. Bell's efforts, they are currently the only school in the Panhandle who offers robotics K through 12. And that is a hallmark of Dimmitt ISD. Larry Garcia is a high school career and technology teacher and robotics teacher. His focus has been on consumer science with an emphasis on culinary arts. He is now a primary teacher in robotics, and he is in his 8th year of teaching at Dimmitt ISD. He has developed a newfound love with STEM education and currently assists with 2 sessions of robotics level 1. He also assists with TCEA robotics at the high school level and with FTC. Don and Larry have a great amount of experience, and we are very excited that they're going to be sharing information on FTC fundamentals with you. So thank you, Don and Larry and Dimmitt Robotics, for being with us today. And we'll get everything kicked off with you guys.
Thank you, Delia, for that introduction. So today we're going to talk about just some general stuff dealing with robotics. I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation, and on this PowerPoint presentation, if you will email me or Mr. Garcia, we will send you this PowerPoint and go from there. So our emails mine is Don Bell, or don.bell@dimmittisd.net. Mr. Garcia is larry.garcia@dimmittisd.net. Okay. Currently, we have 4 teams. We run 4 teams right now. Okay. So what we're looking at today for objectives, we want to talk a little bit about vendors, program budget. We got a sample of what we've used, registration fees, registration deadlines, team management, and how many kids you have in your program and how many kids are on each team, how to distribute the different jobs as far as CAD, game strategies, the book we use, Game Manual 0, and then funding, and then Booster Club. We're going to talk about class size, place to work out, as far as room size, different things like that, supplies needed, tools, storage, and then the last thing we're going to talk about is FIRST UI, the difference between FIRST and UIL and advancements in both of those. So since we are a school-based program, we have TEKs that we have to go by, and Dimmitt I have 4 high school classes of robotics. First year is Principal of Applied Engineer. Second year is Robotics 1. Third year is Robotics 2, and then the 4th year is Digital Electronics. We use this as a STEM endorsement for the state, and if you go on these sites, if you click on these sites, it'll take you to the TEKs for each of those that you can go through and look. When we first started, we had a hard time finding TEKs and what we need to be teaching as far as the class goes. So this will give you a good outline on how to get there and where to go to. From there, I use basically 5 places for vendors. Part of the school situation, our vendors has to be approved through the school. So there's only certain places that we're allowed to go through and pick up supplies because we have to get them approved through the school board. So first we use Rev Robotics. Again, there's their website here. And on that if you'll click on that website, if you go out or if you reach out and get our PowerPoint here, it will take you to their link. We usually get our basic bill kits through them. We use their hubs, and then I like their servos, so I buy servos through them. The second one we use is Tetrix, which if you go out and look at it, it's Pittsco. We use their bill kits. We do a lot of structure parts out of the Tetrix, and then a lot of the tools we purchase through Tetrix, the screwdrivers, Allen wrenches, different things like that. From there, we go to GoBuilda. With GoBuilda, we purchased this last year. We purchased the cascading kits from them, chassis kits we picked from them, and then just general parts through GoBuilda. Servo City, general parts. I love their servo block hubs, the different ways they will attach and allow different things and movements that you can use with your servos. And then last that you need to reach out and touch would be AndyMark. The biggie with AndyMark, that's where you're going to buy your game sets from when you go out and purchase game sets. I like their motors, the Never Rest motors, and then we're looking at their compliant Omni wheels. From there, we got a program budget, just a sample on our budgets. In that, this is from 3 years ago. Our first year we were out there, this is a basic budget. Our budget has gone up since then because we are running 4 teams. This is 1 team. Registration fees, $275, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. At that time, your competition sets were $580. Control and communication sets were $318. Electronics, modules, sensors, we spent about $365. Tools, we spent about $200. And miscellaneous parts and slides were about $1,800. Tournament registrations, we budgeted about $400. Gas for us, this is a little off because we are a school-based team. With us, we have, if we take a bus, we have to pay $2 a mile to take that bus and travel. So we found out at the end of that year that our gas price was way up. Food, the Dimmitt district feeds our kids anytime we travel for a half a day or longer. The school has chosen to feed our students no matter where we go, whether it's in athletics, UIL, extracurricular, whatever. If our school kids travel more than 6 hours, then we will feed them. So food is pretty high on that. So we average about a little over $5,000 for our robotics. Now, a lot of the parts, they're reusable. At the end of the year, we recycle them and reuse them. We're a new team. So with being a new team, that makes us there's still lots of stuff that we've got to buy each year depending on the game and what you have to do with the game. Okay, registration. Registration opens in May, so it's going on right now. You can register. Nationally, you're going to pay about $200. You're going to pay $275 to register your team. We play in the Panhandle North League, so that is $300 for that. If you advance out of league tournament, you will advance to regionals. Regionals price is $300. From regionals, you can advance into state UIL or into the Worlds. State UIL was $300 this past year, and Worlds entry fee for that tournament is $2,000. So the further up you go, the higher it gets. And then our little screen here will break it down. So preseason is going to run anywhere from May to August. In September, they're going to have kickoff. In about September through January, you're going to have build and practice sessions. Your qualifying season is going to be anywhere from October to February. State regionals are going to run from December to March, and then the World Championship will be in April. Okay, since we're a school-based team, this means that everybody can be in our class. For us, we have students that are the top in their class, and then we have students who are in the bottom part of their class. So there's no limit in our students. We can have as many as that wants to take the class and be part of the team. So they're not restricted. They don't have nothing pre-op to get them in, nothing. You want to be in here, you just sign up through the counselor and you're in robotics. So we deal with everybody no matter what. Okay, so I have 4 classes of high school students, or 4 classes for the students, and these classes are stacked, which what that means is that inside of each one of those classes, I could have anywhere from a first-year student to a senior or fourth-year student in the class. So we do a lot of team building, team workups where seniors that have been in here for 4 years will help the younger students. And that's how we've turned to manage as far as the students in the class. I like to try to have a freshman programmer, sophomore programmer, a junior programmer, and a senior programmer so that we're constantly learning from the older ones and passing that down. I like to have, as far as teams, I like to have 6 to 8 students on a team. But we've had as few as 4 and as many as 15 on a team. It just depends on the breakup of as far as the students in the classes. Ideal would be of the 4 classes, each one would have a robot, but it doesn't work that way. Usually in the 4 classes, we'll have kids from each of the 4 teams on there. So we try to run each year 2 advanced teams or 2 veteran teams. And then we try to run 2 beginning and rookie teams, depending on the breakup of the class. Then, so as far as meeting times we meet once to twice a week after school because of all the other activities going on. Our practices are from 7 to 9. And then we split that depending on what we need to accomplish for the week. We could have programmers come in for the first hour, and then the rest of the teams come in for the second hour. We've turned around and had kids that we bring in just one team for the whole 2 hours and work with them. A lot depends on what we need to accomplish for the week and how close we are to the ball games. We do make our kids write once a week in class for the whole class period. As far as their engineering notebook goes. Okay, the different jobs. So we use an engineering design process, and one of the things that we're going to push harder this year is when our kids go into interviews, they don't talk engineering language. They just talk general. So we do a lot of trial and error. Our kids call it trial and error, whereas if you were talking engineering, it's test and evaluate. And so we're going to work this year real hard on talking more like engineers than talking like if we were just talking on the street. And hopefully that will help improve our notebooks and our interviews. So the first 3 weeks of class, we will research different parts, lifting mechanisms. We'll build small different things. We do CAD. Until we get the game itself. Once we get the game, then we'll start breaking that game down. So we break that game down, and at that point is when we start looking at, or in those first few weeks of school until September 12th, we try to get a feel of what the kids would like to do as far as their job, whether it's programmer, CAD, outreach, building. And then they're allowed to pick what they would like, and then through that they have to explain. They have to turn in a paper to us on why they feel like they're best suited for that position, and we make them pick 3 because when it starts, if you've got 10 on your team, all 10 of them wants to be the driver. The hardest part to fill for some of us is the programming. So we make them pick 3 positions, and then we choose from there. And that helps us divide who's going to be on what teams. Coaches, after the kids turn in their paper, the coaches will sit down. I've got 3 helpers, Mr. Garcia, and then another lady, she'll help us, and we decide what we feel like each of the students would be best at. Okay, these roles, when they do get their roles, they could change during the year, and we've had builders go to programmers and programmers go to builders. So you basically have to learn everything, but you specialize in one part of the robot. Okay, in CAD, we have everybody work on CAD, and through the small different projects that we do for CAD, then we will pick a lead CAD person to do all the CAD drawings. We use Fusion 360. We've tried several. Fusion 360 fits us the best. It don't necessarily fit everybody, but it fits us because of the way our setups are. So with Fusion 360, you get a 3-year license for free, and you can renew that as an educator. You can renew that every 3 years for free. It's an online base. One of the deals it works on, the last I checked, it only works on desktops or laptops. It does not work on Chromebooks, so we have a little bit of a hard time. Dimmitt supplies Chromebooks from 3rd grade all the way to 12th grade for every student. And this creates a little bit of a problem with us because everything we do in robotics is through a laptop or through a desktop. Okay. We work 3D printing through the Fusion 360. We print part of our parts. We've got one machine, a 3D printing machine that we use for different parts, phone holders, connectors, holders, different things like that. So we draw those and then we 3D print them out. Through Fusion 360, you can do accountability and certification. And this is what the state of Texas is looking for with the CT groups is certifications. So this is one of the ways we can meet that criteria. Game Manual Zero. There's a link to this website. It's a manual that we print out, and it covers tons and tons of parts of the game and different things. So we've got it printed out in a book form. It's in a folder, and we use this as a reference. A lot of research goes through this book. I feel it's very well organized. There's several teams that have come together to write this book and give different things for it. So this is a great. Let's see if we can get out on their website. We may get out here and I may not be able to get back. Anyway, so Game Manual Zero is what it's called, and it's free to anybody. It's to use, and it's not gonna let me, yeah, there we go. So things through there that you're gonna, it gives credits to the contributors to the books. It talks about engineering design process, rookie mistakes in building principles, competition, talks about basic hardware, robot designs, power and electrical, software. So there's a lot of things in this notebook that we go through on a daily basis that we work off of. So this is a good reference for us. All right, let's see if I can get back to, there we go. So I'm new to all this technology, so I'm pretty happy when I can go from one to the other. So after Game Manual Zero, let's talk a little bit about fundraising. So our school only allows us to fundraise, to have 2 fundraisers a year. They have to be approved through the school. So usually the type of fundraisers that we do through the school is a concession stands from the other sports. So like football games, basketball games, different things that's involved in the school. We do the concession stands off of that. If it's a football concession stand, usually the profit is pretty high. Some of the other concession stands, there's not, but we're trying to raise between $500 and $1,000 per each concession stand that we are involved in. Sometimes there's more. They'll allow a few others on the concession stand side if no one else in the school wants to do the concession stand. Then they'll allow some of the teams or some of the other events work a third or a fourth concession stand. Dimmitt hosts a lot of basketball, UIL playoff games, so sometimes we can pick up those as extras and make some pretty good money off of those. Other way of fundraisers that we can do is we can fundraise through our booster club. Our booster clubs are allowed as many fundraisers as they need for the program, and so that is the reason we created the booster club, is because it could fundraise for a lot more opportunities for our students. Usually on the fundraisers through the booster club, we're going to do some type of meal or a cookout, and we're hoping to do the booster club to make $2,000 to $3,000 off of that. There's lots of ideas out there for booster clubs. We have some individual businesses in town that will donate to us and help us, and so we make arrangements with them on that, and we'll put their business on our t-shirts to help to give them a little feedback for what they contribute to our program. Let's talk about the booster club a little bit. The booster clubs, we started it. It's not basically just parents. It's for anybody that wants to be involved outside of the school, for the adults, so they can join the booster club to help. Our booster clubs help the money that we raise through the booster club. It goes for all the extra stuff that we need to compete. So that would be, we put on a parent supper at the beginning of the year to introduce our parents to robotics, so that they'll know what the students are in, what goes on. We show them some films from the previous years. We discuss what we're looking at for the year, and then what events we'll be attending and where we'll be going. Our booster club helps with our t-shirts. The school allows us to buy through our account one t-shirt for our students, and because we go to several events, and some of our events in the past have been 2 or 3 days, so we do the extra t-shirts comes through our booster clubs. Last year through our booster club, we raised enough money to buy each of our students jackets. We do awards at the end of the year, so that it helps pay for the awards for the students. This past year, we gave out senior gifts. The booster club chose, because they had extra money, to give out gifts to our seniors. So our seniors received a small dorm refrigerator and a microwave for them going to college, to help them get started there. And then our booster club also helps pay for camps and workshops for our students to travel to these places. And since with what's going on, we've had to cut back on the workshops. So that's what gave us some extra money at the end of the year for the senior gifts. Supplies needed, tools, parts, and extra. Classroom, you're going to need the playing field is 12 by 12. And so you're going to need a room. The smallest room I see that you would need would be a 15 by 15 room. And that's still very, very small with everything you're going to have. The first year we did a quarter field where we only played on a quarter field because we didn't have a big enough room. Since then, we've been lucky, and we're in the wood shop, so that has opened it up for us for lots and lots of rooms at my school. So I know of schools that will tear down their field every day, because the next day they teach their different subjects are taught in that room, and then at the end of the school, they come in and set their field back up and practice for a couple hours and then tear it down. So we have a luxury. We don't have to do that. Storage, you're going to need some type of storage because there's lots and lots of parts. So you're going to need some type of storage cabinets. We've purchased cabinets on rollers, and we found them, the cheapest place we found them was at Harbor Freight, and they're in different colors. So each of my team has a different color storage bin, and then all their equipment that goes into the storage cabinets are color coded. So if anything's left out or I find anything laying around, I know which team it belongs to. And so by color coding everything, it just helps us keep track of where things goes at the end of the day. You need to make sure you have fire extinguisher in the workspace somewhere. You also need to make sure the students know how to handle the fire extinguisher. And you make sure that you know what your school requires for as far as accidents reported and how you need to handle any type of accident that may happen throughout the year. We've been lucky and haven't had to use either one of those in the 5 years that we've been doing this. So we haven't had to use the fire extinguisher or turn any type of accident reports. So we feel lucky on that part. But you always need to be prepared. And you need to talk about those things. If you don't talk about them, then when it happens, it's total chaos. Workspace should be kept clean and not cluttered. Cords, extension cords, because you're going to have lots of extension cords that need to be put up each day. There's some days when we work extra long, we walk out here and it's a mess, but we turn around and before we start the next meeting, we get everything cleaned up. Extra tools, whether hand tools, Dremel, extra hex keys, hand drills, small screwdrivers, tape measures, some type of tie wraps. You need wrenches, both in metric and standard, zip ties of all sizes and all types, ball head screwdrivers, ball head saws. We have bench grinders. We use a bandsaw. So all of our students that we allow to use these machines, they have to go through a safety on these before they're allowed to use them. So this is just a list of a lot of different tools. Some of these we don't have. We don't have the sheet metal benders, sheet metal brakes at my particular school, but I know of some schools that do. Okay, so first UIL advancements, and there's a difference in them. Okay, so first there's 5 regions in the state of Texas. The one we're out of is the West and Panhandle region, which is like Delia said earlier today, it goes from the top of Texas in the Panhandle all the way down to El Paso. There's the North region, which is the Dallas area. The East region, which would be the Far East, Central region, and then the South region. Okay, and here's a link here that you can go to that will talk about all the different regions so that you can figure out if you're a new team where you would be. So inside of the regions can be broken up into different groups. And so with FTC, you're going to do qualifiers or league play in the region, and then some regions do both. Our region here, we do league play, and we'll talk about that in just a second. A qualifier is you find the meet. So I know in the Texas area or the North region, which is the Dallas area, because we have a lot to do with them. We travel up there a lot to do different activities with them, but a lot of theirs is qualifiers, and that means the way I looked at a qualifier, it's a one-type shot tournament where you're going to run 5 rounds in the prelim. If you make it out of the prelims, you make it into the finals. And then at that tournament, you're also going to do your interviews. You're going to set up your canopies. You're going to set up your tent area, your work area. And so they're usually all day long from early morning till late in the evening. And then at the end, so many teams out of each of the qualifiers will qualify to go to the next level. So in our region, We play league play. What I like about league play is that you get 3 to 4 pre-tournaments. And in these pre-tournaments, all you're going to do is run the robots. There's no interviews yet. There's no notebooks. You don't turn in your notebooks yet or anything like that. So all you're going to do is just the practice of the running of the robot. Excuse me, practice running the robot. And so you get 3, and you usually have 1 a month. And there's about 3 to 4 weeks between each one of them that you can improve your robot. If something fails, breaks down, you can add to it if you see something neat that some other team's doing that you like, and excuse me, and they'll help during that deal. You can sit down with them and they'll explain what they're doing. I've found that I know that all of our teams and all the tournaments we've ever gone to, that these students will talk with each other and explain lots and lots how to with each of them. Then at the end of those 3 or 4 tournaments, then you get into the league championship. From the league championship, you have to be one of the top placers there to move on. From there, you'll move to regionals. Regional championship is a big tournament. At that time, it's just like a qualifier. The league championship tournament and the league championship tournament now, they're just qualifiers is all they are. You're going to do your interviews, you're going to do your notebook. And then at the end of the tournament, they'll have a list of advancement eligibilities, and we'll have those just a minute. We'll show who will advance. Every tournament has a different amount that gets to advance. From the regional championship, you can qualify for world championship. World championships will be in Houston or Detroit, and they'll only take a certain amount to each of to one or the other. In our region, we qualify to go to the Houston. I know up north, they go to the Detroit, and then some of the world teams, they go to, some of the teams from out of the United States, they'll go to either Houston or Detroit to compete. At that point, at the regional tournament is when they split FTC and UIL. So at that point, UIL is strictly for school-based teams. So if your team is a neighborhood or a private school, you don't compete in UIL. So at regionals, at the regional meet, they'll split into every team that meets the criteria as far as school-based and participates in UIL. They'll split you into either a 5A or a 6A group, and then a 1A and a 4A group. Out of that group, you are, they will rank you from your regional tournament results. They'll rank you 1 through how many ever there is, and then that will allow you to advance to state. Now, the deal with state is that you're only allowed 1 team per school. So last year I had 3 teams make it to regionals, and of the 3 teams, all 3 qualified for state, and so we just took our highest placer to state because you're only allowed 1 team. But what they do is state will allow you 30 kids on the team to go to state. So with Dimmitt right now, because we don't have over 30 students in our class, I take everybody to state if we advance 1 team. So I'll take everybody, and it's to go to state with us. So in the last 2 years, that split's been about 8 teams to advance to the state tournaments. So a little bit more just eligibility and advancement criteria. This is straight out of the manual book. Here it's going to talk about eligibility, completing, and so basically, if they're in order of advancement, if there is, let's say there's 3 teams that will advance out of a tournament you're in. If there's only 3 teams, that means the Aspired Award winner will advance, Winning Alliance captain will advance, and Inspired Award second place will advance. Some tournaments we have has been as many as 8 people advance to the next level, and that means the Inspired Award winner would go, the Winning Alliance Inspired Award number 2, Winning Alliance first team select, and if there's any, let's say the same team gets the Inspired Award and the Winning Alliance captain, then they would just add, instead of the 8, they would drop to the 9th place because of one team taking 2 positions. And that's an advancement criteria that you will need to go to from there. So like I said earlier today, this comes me to the end of mine. Just kind of some basic stuff that we touch. My name's Don Bell. I'm the head coach. My email is don.bell@dimmittisd.net. And my assistant coach right now is Larry Garcia at dimmittisd.net. And our teams will help you in any way possible. We'll do Zoom on an individual basis with your teams if you need it. We can Zoom with our programmers talking to each other, or Zoom on building, but we're willing to help anybody and everybody. Last year we did do some traveling. We traveled and spent the day in Canadian for a whole day to help out Canadian. So now we're ready for questions and answers. Nancy?
Thank you, Don, so much for sharing that great information. We do have several questions for you. So one question from the Q&A chat is, do you have a template or form for your engineering journal that you use with your students?
Yes, we do, but we basically use the one off of the First Robotics website, and there's one on there that we go off of that we use as far as our notebook, and we follow. There's several examples on their website, and we follow what they show as examples for our notebooks.
Great. And did you say y'all do that digitally, or do you do it handwritten, or is it kind of a combination?
It's we do it digitally to start with. The first year we did it was we hand wrote everything, and the problem we got into that is we were wasting lots of copy paper because they changed stuff constantly. So then the second year we went to a digital format. So all throughout the year we do digital, and then when we travel to our contest, then we print it all out at the end and put it into a notebook to take it to contests with us and everything. Okay. And then a biggie is we keep those year to year. We've got them from every year, so we can look at examples from year to year on how they've gone and how they've improved.
That's awesome. Do all students write in the journal, or is it assigned to different people to work on?
All students write. When this year we went on Wednesday, every student would write for the whole class period on what they did for the week. We have several questions that they have to answer. They do their drawings. They'll do their drawings during that time. For their notebook, they have to tell us what they did for the week and was it effective in what they did, or how they helped the team advance for the week. So they have to tell us, I sat around and did nothing, or I threw out these suggestions and they were shot down, but I'm still trying to help. So we want to know about that. Are they working towards the team end goal, or are they just sitting around watching everybody else work? So they have to write about it.
Great.
And that goes for a grade for the classroom. So that keeps them pretty well locked in when you start talking grades with these students.
So true. Okay, and so you already covered some of the costs for a year or season. We talked about, the $275 registration and the kit cost, and of course, First in Texas has the grants that schools can apply for. Correct. What are some of the hidden costs that you see that come out that you might be able to share to help people prepare for?
Hidden costs for us would be the first year when we went to the first district contest was We didn't understand the pit area, and to dress up and the different things in your pit area. So they have canopies. Every team just about has a canopy there, and then you dress that up. You sell your team through that canopy, and underneath that canopy, you're allowed a 10 by 10 area, and then you sell your teams. And we were looking at teams that would have TV monitors in them and showing PowerPoints constantly. And the first time we went with a tablecloth and a canopy, and that's all. We didn't understand that teams were showing and trying to sell their team to the officials, the community, the people that were there. So that was a big expense to improve those over the years for us.
But those are things you can start, like you said, start with a few things and you can build each year, or find donations for, let the kids possibly create things that go in there, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes. And we do a lot of signs, and the kids make the signs. We've passed signs out to other teams from us, and it's all done by the students on those different things.
And they love sharing those things too. That's always fun watching them trade buttons and all those different things at competition.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you talked a lot about the difference between FIRST and UIL. Do you have to register for UIL, when you do FIRST, or do you just kind of compete with FIRST and go?
You compete with FIRST and go. So you're, I guess the way it works is that when your school is UIL, it automatically qualifies you to be part of UIL Robotics. So you have to compete all the way through. So you can't just go UIL strictly. You have to compete in FIRST first.
Okay.
So you're going to go through all that. So you've got to make it to the regional tournament. If you do not go to the regional tournament, then your chances of getting to state is very slim, because they're taking the advancements out of region. So you're automatically registered for it as long as you're a UIL school district.
Okay. How often do y'all meet for practice sessions outside of class time? Like how long are those sessions and how often?
So we meet to start out with. The first part of the year in September, we'll meet one day a week. And we have to pick it around all the other sports, cheerleading, because the majority of our students are involved in everything. Monday night is band. So in the first part of the year, we do Tuesday nights, and we come in 7 to 9 o'clock. Wednesday is church, and then Thursday is the not the junior class, but the JV sports, and then Friday is varsity sports. I don't like to work on weekends, so that puts that kind of out. So, so the first part of the year, we come in on just Tuesday nights, and we go from 7 to 9. Now, we also at our school have an open lab, so that the students, if they want to come in and work on their own on something, they're allowed to do that, as long as there's someone here, a teacher that's in the building here, so they can come in on their own time. And I'll have some students that are not involved in everything that will spend 3 or 4 hours working on different things on their own. That's not required. But.
Okay, great. How are team members selected for your teams? Or how are your students put into different teams? You mentioned that you put about 5 or 6 students per team in your talk.
Yes, so I like 5 or 6. So we're going to look for a programmer. We're going to look for 5 or 6 the basics. So what we do is we're going to introduce each of those positions and what they do, what's required of them. So we're going to talk with a programmer, what's required for a programmer, what's your expectations. We're going to tell them what our expectations are, what they're going to have to do because of the time. Builder is a big one for us. Drivers are a big one for us. Our drivers are usually the students that love to play games, whether it's male or female. male or female has nothing to do with my class. It's ability, what you want to work on. I have ladies that will outwork the boys, and then some years I have the boys that will outwork the ladies. So to me, it's who gets the job done when you're assigned the different jobs. And there's sometimes a student says, I want to be a builder, and they'll start building, and they'll get lost in the deal, and they'll come to me and ask if they could can I change my job? So the first part of the year, we allow that, because that's just them getting used to what's going on. My younger kids coming in, some of them have no experience whatsoever with robotics because they haven't taken it in anywhere else, because it's not a pre-rep for our class. You don't have to have it at the junior high or have it at the elementary. So they'll come in and they'll get involved. Some of our students love to do the notebook, and that's all they want to work on is the notebook. So we allow that. So we teach each of the positions, and then they'll come in and they'll pick 3 positions that they would like to do. And they'll list them in order, the first one, second, and third, and then we will sit down with the 3 instructors will sit down and we'll discuss who do we feel like would be the best in those positions. So it's kind of a mutual agreement.
Okay. So one thing I think that's probably less understood when you get started is the assigning of team numbers and how those carry on from year to year. Teams are assigned a number, and they will have that same number as long as that team's in existence. So do your students, let's say you have a student that comes in as a 9th grader and starts on team 12398. Would that student stay on that same team through the rest of their high school time, or do you have them, start again each year but use the same team numbers, or is there another way you handle that?
So we do, we keep the 4 team numbers. We keep those the same. And so we try to allow the teams that worked well. So if I worked well on 12398, we try to keep that team together through the 4 years. Okay. But if we have a conflict maybe between 2 of the students, then the following year if they agree, we'll put them on a different team. So it's kind of a mutual agreement. Sometimes they want to change, but we feel like they're better where they're at, and we'll just tell them, hey, you got to learn to work through it. It's just like a job. There are going to be employees that you don't like, but you still have to work with them. So a lot depends on what's open and the reasoning why they want to change. They'll want to change. They'll come in and say, well, 12398 went to state last year. We want to be on their team. Well, it doesn't work that way. If you want to qualify to go to state, then you need to improve your game.
True. Okay, good. And do y'all have the same, do each of those numbers have a team name that stays consistent, or do your students change that name every year, or just change the name of the robot?
Through FTC, you're allowed to change those names, but we don't. We leave our names the same. That way we know it's mainly for us and adults to keep up with, what team is what. If my kids would change it with depending what's popular on TV, they'd go with a name from that, with whatever popular show's running. That's the name of their team. So we keep ours the same. We don't change them each year. Plus, when you're talking about, we've got contacts with people in Australia, people in Italy. That way they know when we start trying to reach out to them and all who we are. They don't see, well, that's not the name of the team we talked to last year or earlier in the year. So we reach out to a lot of people all over the state of Texas, all over the United States. And a biggie for me is to have our kids reach out and talk to these people. I love to go to the World Tournament and visit the different tents and listen to them talk about their country and or their area where they're from. So, I push that for our kids too. And so we want our name recognized. We want our number recognized that way.
Good. I agree with you. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, that's one thing that I've always done with my students is that they're building a brand, a recognizable brand. But I do let them change their robot name every year if they want to, since that's a different creation. Oh, that's great. Do you divide up your practice time by your roles on the team? Like, let's say you start off meeting every Monday night. Do you ever switch that around where maybe just programmers will come one week? Or do you just kind of divide them up and let them work on each of their things during their time?
Oh, definitely. We'll bring in just programmers, all levels. And so we'll have four students, one assigned on each team. But if you're interested in the programming side, but you're not classified as the person that's controlling the programming side, you're allowed to come in on those days to help you learn more about the programming. But we will bring in just programmers. Sometimes we split by, they'll come in for the whole 2 hours, no one else comes, or we'll come in for the first hour and then everybody else comes in. A lot depends on what we need to get accomplished for the week. So we set goals every week. This is what we need to get done for the week. And we set them for team goals, we set them for class goals, and then individual goals. And so they have to, what's it going to take to meet your goal? You know, do you need more time? Do you need less time? And that's you on some of that, you know, because we're only allowed to, UIL only allows you 8 hours a week. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they have to work more than that. And that's on them if they feel like they need more time to get their goal for the week accomplished.
Great. And is there anything special that y'all do or that either as coaches or as a team in terms of outreach to prep those kids in the lower level grades that haven't, come to the team yet? How are you reaching out, recruiting, providing opportunities for them to get interested or to build their skills to be ready to be on the high school robotics team?
So we, a lot of times, so I do an after-school program with the elementary kids, and I'll bring in some of my high school students to help with them. Just robotics itself, my elementary, I make sure it's very fun for them. We play a lot of games with the robots so that it is fun, and then they talk amongst each other. That builds, I want to do that next year, and then next year. So I had 130 elementary students
nice
try out for my team, and I was only allowed to have 30 on the team. And that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do, is tell a third grader that they didn't make a team. And so that's tough, but they also go away knowing that they can make it the next year. They can always try again. So we do a lot of, my high school kids work down, my junior high kids work down. And then when we have tournaments, we bring those kids up to help in the tournaments. They set the field, they run the paperwork, but we bring them in to let them see, let them watch, to get them involved. So it helps be in a small community.
Yes, that's awesome though. That's really fantastic. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that we haven't talked about yet, or anything that you think maybe a new coach would really need to know, or maybe even an experienced one?
So my biggie would be, know there's people out there to help you. We're there to help. That's I've coached many of years. I got 35 years in. A lot of that was coaching sports, and coaching in sports, if I knew something, I'm not telling you because I don't want you to beat me. But in robotics, I found anybody you call is going to tell you how to do it, how to help, what to do, and I know our region, and I've reached into some of the other ones that they're willing to help. We watch a lot of YouTube. We look up just FTC, and if there's if they find a video, the kids will bring it in and we'll watch it. And they're like, yeah, we need to do that. But we don't know how because we're such a new team. I make them reach out to that team that they're watching and say, you reach out to them, find out what they're doing and how they're doing it. See if they'll help you. And And I've found out that I've never been turned down. And none of my kids have, as far as I know, been turned down for help. So
That's
there's
great.
lots of people there to help.
That's great advice, because I think a lot of times we feel like we have to know it all when we're doing this. And I agree with you. This whole community is very, very willing to help anybody who's starting. I just got another question before we get ready to close you out. How do you feel you and your team will need to adjust to practices regarding the current circumstances?
Oh, I was afraid
I
of
know
this
everybody's
question.
got that question.
So we were lucky this summer, and we got to be involved in the first virtual reality FTC tournament in Maryland, and a great experience for us. One of the biggies is we could only bring in so many students at a time, so we're probably going to have more practice time where we bring in fewer students, and then you're going to have to be strict on your, you're a builder, you're the only one that can touch this set of tools. We look like we're probably going to have to buy more hand tools, so that probably every student has their own set of hand tools so that they can build and not pass the hand tools around. They came in every day and sprayed down our classroom, so we're going to have to continue that. Washing their hands, so face masks. We had a temperature check every day coming into that. Every student, as they walked into the room, we had to do a temperature check. They had to have a face mask on, and they had to go wash their hands immediately. So it's going to change. It's going to change everything quite a bit on how you do it. And
Yeah.
We're hoping that someone finds the easy way to do all this and share with everybody because it is just all up in the air right now.
It is. And fortunately, we do have some things in our programs that we can do virtually. And you pointed out one of them was Fusion 360, which can be a standalone download, but then you can also access files through the internet. So that could be another thing teams could do if they're, if we happen to be locked down at home or whatever. There's things they can work on. So
yes, ma'am, there is.
All right. Well, Don, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today and sharing your fabulous experience for our community. I know how well your team always does, and I know that with this help, you're going to help more teams get to that place too, and we can all celebrate with you at state or maybe even nationals one day. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it.